everyone. Thank you for joining us today on the Unconditional Podcast. I'm here with the awesome Andrew Hazlee. Am I pointing at you?
The other way.
There you go. Issues today with Andrew Hazlee. Thank you so much for joining me today, man.
Thank you. Yeah, this is awesome. I'm excited about you doing of your own podcast of your own. You've been on my podcast 3 times, so it's this is fun. Yeah, I like doing podcasts.
And I'm actually in the room where you did your first video podcast.
Yes. Yeah, the same exact room.
I didn't even think of that till just now. This room is officially the podcast seed room. That's what it is. And that's why I was so inspired. Well, I'll tell you, man, thank you for being on Unconditional. This is the podcast where we empower people to overcome unhealthy conditioning, to rest in their true identity, and to be set in healthy boundaries. We do all this by sharing real and raw stories and expert secrets and tips. I'm your host, Rabbi Michael Schoening, and we've got some sponsors. Our first sponsor is, Planet Duct, Southern Colorado's best air duct cleaning company. They also clean my home's air ducts and dryer vents. They're also certified by the National Air Duct Cleaners Association. When it comes to your family's lung health, hire the best. Check them out today at planetduct.com. Again, thank you so much, Andrew, for jumping on today. I'm so excited to interview you. What a turn of tables. The turns have tabled. The tables have flipped.
Turntables.
The turntables have turned. Yeah. So, Andrew, what projects have been keeping you busy lately?
I've been working on my podcast a lot. Really working on growing it and creating content around it. A lot of my time actually goes into focusing and managing the team, and also making content on top of that. So we've built up a team. We have a team chat even. So yeah.
Ooh, getting all organized, fancy.
Mm-hmm. So yeah, the podcast, working, just staying busy with client projects. I have a folder in my Google Drive with active clients and then past clients, and my active clients is actually a pretty. It has a nice number on that. There's a few amount of people in there.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
And for the people who are just meeting you for the first time, listening or watching, tell us a little bit about the podcast and about what you do for our community.
Yeah, the COS Business Podcast.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Yeah. I could tell them about your podcast too. So. Yeah. But yeah, COS Business Podcast. We talk to entrepreneurs here in Colorado Springs, but also wherever. Anyone can come on the show. They just have to come to Colorado Springs to do it. So that's part of the deal. And it's a multicam podcast, live only. We don't do online podcasts. It's filmed in a location downtown Colorado Springs. You can actually look it up on Google Maps if you want to, and nice. Leave a review if you want to. You can't review our podcast. We are on Google Maps. We treat it like a business. We're a registered business. The podcast is registered as a business in Colorado, so it's a business itself, and that's how we're treating it, because it's a business podcast too. So on top of that, it's a little meta, but yeah. And we really just have conversations with people in the community, doing things in the community, which business owners typically are the movers and doers of a community. They make things happen. Obviously, there's lots of aspects of economics, but I think business owners really push growth and push. They're a big driving force when it comes to, I think, how cities are formed, and how cool things come to cities. Cool things are usually businesses. That's just how, I don't know.
That's awesome. The power of capitalism, right?
Yes.
I love it. I love it. The influences, entrepreneurs are very influential. For some reason, people thought that movie stars and big singers and songwriters would be good political leaders and form culture in our country in the last decade or a couple decades or whatever. It's no, don't take advice. That guy's an actor. He's probably acting now. But I love that when you have, and I've been really diving into your interview recently with Yemi.
Mhm.
And of course, Yemi is in the running for Colorado Springs mayor. We both live in Colorado Springs. Well, I'm right outside of it, but and I had coffee with Yemi recently, and we're going to be working together on a couple small projects. I'm really excited. About. Yemi's a great guy, and he doesn't have a lot of political experience, but he's a pastor. And if you've ever been a pastor, or I'm a rabbi, it's tough leading people. You can't make everyone happy. But he's also an entrepreneur and owns several coffee shops, and these coffee shops are meeting spaces. So he really understands the community, and he definitely has my vote. And no, he did not pay me. This is an unsponsored ad for Yemi, but Yemi for mayor, 100%. But yeah, man. And then you do. I personally hired you for a videography. So. In your videography space, do you feel like your podcast feeds the videography, or the videography more feeds the podcast?
By feed, what do you mean? Like
leads and just getting influence and attraction in the community?
Well, yeah, 100%. I mean, the podcast, yeah, it makes monthly money, but I mean, I don't take any of that money out. It goes right back into advertising, right back into editors, right back into the business, Yeah. And that's just how I treat that. So, but when it comes to the podcast, yes, 100%, it is the best marketing move that I could have ever did. I think not could have ever did, but it was the best marketing move that I ever did. And it really helped me get in front of people, get in front of people that maybe not even have met me, but also get in front of people who are actually doing it by sitting down and having that conversation with them about their business. I start out, I don't ask for anything in return, but what that does is that leads to building relationships. That leads to someone, knowing me first of all, and then hopefully liking me, but maybe sometimes not. I don't know. and then obviously trusting me as well too. So that's where that leads. It's like you had been on my podcast before, so you had already we had been building that relationship, and it wasn't necessarily that wasn't my intention. I just liked having we had good conversations, and anyone can reach out and be on the show. Like we've interviewed over 100 people, let's say 150, because we've had repeat guests, and we're almost at 200 episodes. So
200 episodes?
Yeah, almost there. Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Well, we're close. We're like 180. Yeah.
Well, I feel good that I am 1%. I am 1% of your podcasts.
Yes. Well, I mean, also you have 3 really long episodes too. So
is it 3? 3 podcasts?
I think it's 3. Man.
Are you sure? Okay, I did the one when I was still a kitchen designer.
Yeah,
we talked a lot about that.
You did the one with like the pure blue fabric background, and I think you did 2 episodes with the wooden background.
Really?
Yeah.
It's possible. Man, I remember because we talked about Unconditional Conference, which you filmed live, and thank you again for that. I get to rewatch the Unconditional, and I just made that public for a short time. So for anybody, we had a big event, the Unconditional Conference 2021. Is that what year this is? 2020? Are we 2022? Yeah, 2022.
Almost 3.
It was May 19th, and man, it was so fun. It was so fun, and it's 4 hours of condensed content. I would say 4 hours of not just fluff, not fluff.
It spawned this podcast, right?
Sorry? It's on this channel.
This podcast.
Yeah. If people are watching this on YouTube, then this is the same channel. They're going to be able to look up and see the Unconditional Conference and get that 4 hours of content that you filmed.
Yeah.
I have hired a stenographer, and she's working on she's working on transcribing the entire event into a book format. So we'll have the Unconditional Conference book.
That's awesome.
And for those who want to look through it, I'll put some pictures in there so people know who they're talking about. But we're going to summarize each session into a large chapter. So super excited for that. And I appreciate you. Kind of on a little bit of a last minute ask. You ran out there and you filmed this thing, and we were like not having the best internet in that space, that venue. But you did it. You know what I mean? I think a lot of people get really stressed out. Like, I don't like the lighting I'm using right now. I went out and bought new light bulbs, and I still look very like jaundicey. I don't know what it is. I don't like the camera. I bought brand new headphones, and they don't fit in my computer. Just stuff's gonna happen, But it's about just doing it. I've been talking about doing a podcast for a year and a half. Andrew, speaking about like getting into that, you and I've had personal conversations about, you didn't. You were in a totally different world basically, and then you were like, correct me if I'm wrong. You watched an episode of like this thing where Grant Cardone moved to Pueblo with 100.
No,
Tell us a story.
Yeah. I mean, that wasn't the reason why I came out here. I actually was out here like three months before they even filmed that.
Oh, okay.
In Pueblo, doing the exact same thing that he ended up doing and filming, and being on national television for, and really helping his brand, that's for sure. But it was just such a similar experience, and I think because I've told that story like once or twice, and I've probably told you personally too. I've told it once or twice publicly, like one time on like a Facebook feed, and then one time I probably said it on my podcast before too, actually. But I could see why that gets conflated, because I mean it wasn't what inspired me to come out here, but it is a very similar thing that happened.
Give us the real story.
Yeah, exactly. And like, I'm not saying by any means like he copied me. That just was a coincidence,
Yeah.
And he was able to like close a deal, like a $10,000 deal within like the first like few days.
That was insane.
Yeah. He also had a camera crew following him too, which it's like
kind of builds a little clout.
Yeah. It's like, why are those kids, what's going on here? People are more open to talk to you. So that's actually, that's not an excuse, like that's something I should have did. It's like, I couldn't hire no one. I was broke. I didn't have much money, and I came out here. That's why it was very similar to the show, because like they started with just $100 and I started with like $500. I thought I was going to have a little bit more. But I knew I needed to. My mentor at the time, he told me that sink or swim, 30-day challenge. If you like Colorado so much, why don't you just stay here for 30 days and see how that works?
A challenge. This was a 30-day challenge.
At first, yeah. So I was out here working at the construction, doing construction, working at the military base, and we were here for like a few months. And after we like finished with the project, like everyone else went home, and my mentor was like, if you like it so much, why don't you do a sink or swim challenge, 30 days, either you sink or you swim. And like, it worked out, and, I made it happen. I was in Pueblo for a little bit, for like 10 days, maybe. Then I realized, I was like building out here in Colorado Springs, and I did not want to do that commute. I was only in Pueblo because that's where the Airbnb was. That's the only reason why I was in there.
Yeah.
Which was a cool experience as well too. Like there's like an old dude in an Airbnb, and he hooked me up with like spaghetti. We played guitar, and like we were rapping, and like.
So what was the like tipping point in your life that you said, you know what, I want change? There's something better. Like what was this tipping point that inspired and encouraged you to do a 30-day challenge? I mean, this isn't the normal thing. I don't think.
No, 100%. Yeah. I mean, I had been wanting to. I've been doing video for a few years, and really, I had also wanted to get into VFX when I was in high school too, and I've already did like music stuff and like a bunch of creative stuff and visual art stuff. So it's like I've always been a creative type of person.
Yeah. And
I like doing YouTube for like a year or two, like halfedly.
Thanks for keeping it a family show.
Yes. And I really wanted to, like, I decided I was going to make video production like my career. So I was like, after about a few days of like, I told myself, I don't care where, I'm going to go find a job wherever in the country, I'm going to go find it. I was still doing the construction in Kansas City at the time. And I short that idea fizzled out because I'm always been starting businesses since I was like 16, and I was like shortly after having that idea of making it my career, I was like, why don't I just start my own video production company?
Yeah.
And I looked up online, watched a few YouTube videos of how some people are doing it. I found some proven mentors, and I think proven is an important word because they had done and ran successful video production companies before. And my goal was to make a successful video production company. So this was my first time as an entrepreneur this was the first time that I actually sought out mentorship. And I think that was a big difference between all the other endeavors that I tried starting on my own, and like multiple types of business. I tried starting a recycling business where I'd go and pick up cans, like I'd have you like set up cans. It was called the Can Man, actually.
The Can Man can.
Yeah. So my goal was like, I pay you for like, 10, 20 cents less than what aluminum goes for at the scrapyard. But I pick it up. And then the goal was to like try to make that profitable. But that was I don't know. I was even over my head.
That was a whole business.
Yes. And so it's like I've done businesses before, and I found these mentors, proven mentors, and I actually spent money. I invested in myself. One of the best investments, like more money than I had ever spent at one time, actually. And it's like, man, I'm spending all this money just for like mentorship and online courses. It's like it was scary. It's like I didn't know, like, and I actually put it on a credit card too on top of that.
Did you ever ask anybody like, hey, I wanted thinking of doing this program, it's this much money, what do you think? And they were like, you're an idiot, don't do it.
Sure. You mean
get that? Yeah.
It's something that you don't want to tell people too. It's because it's like it's something because if it doesn't work out, then there's shame with that, I think, there can be. It's like you don't want to say tell people you spent X amount of money, $1,000, $2,000, however much, even a few $100s, and then it not work out. So it's like, I think also there's a psychological thing that happens when you spend that kind of money, whether or not the courses are good, because these courses were good, but I'm saying, like, I think there's a psychological thing that happens, like you're invested now. Like,
I've never read a free newspaper. If I pay for a newspaper, you ever try to give someone a free cup of coffee? They're like, I mean, maybe coffee's a bad example, like, because we do in our coffee, right? Here's the 1 million cups, right? But, let's say you try to give someone a free sandwich, a stranger, right? Like, what's wrong with it, dude? Is it yesterday's sandwich? Is this made with bats? Are you sick? Are you trying to kill me? People get all suspicious, but all of a sudden you have the same sandwich and you say it's $5. People are it's gonna have value. Yeah, and I think that's there's that saying that I'm all in, I'm bought in. And I think bought in, it's more than just a saying. It's literal too. When you buy into something, like if I for this podcast, I've been talking about doing a podcast for Unconditional for like I said, about a year and a half, and I started purchasing things for it. Purchasing things for it. You go out, you get a microphone, you get the headphones, you get the lights. I'm still working on, details and whatnot, and who cares? It's still fun. But it's like when you're buying into something, you're investing into something, and now it's real. I love that you were bold enough to do a 30-day challenge. And I've heard it said so many times that the most important investment you can make is in yourself. And you said, I invested in myself. And I think there's a massive lack of self-love. Especially among men in Western society. I know that I
probably did it while hating myself. I still invested in myself.
Yeah, well, I mean, that's good. I mean, I have big problems with rejection. And so I don't do projects and do ideas. I talked about writing a book for 10 years before I published The Unwind. By the way, if you want a copy of The Unwind, 30 Evenings for the Entrepreneur Mind, $10, and I'll send you an e-copy, and it will change your life, guaranteed. Or 10% of your money back. No, all your money back. It is life-changing. I'm doing my own devotional right now, and it's wrecking me, right? I wrote the thing, and I'm upset at it because it goes so freaking deep. But investing in yourself, man, yeah. And I think a lot of times we don't take that step. We don't move forward in our lives and in our projects, relationships, and otherwise because of I don't know, just that rejection thing, that maybe I'm not good enough. I don't value myself, so maybe other people don't value me. Whatever it is, I know a lot of people, well, I didn't go through the proper schooling, so I'm never going to make it. Or I don't have a degree or a license in this thing, so I can't work in that field. Whatever it is, I think we come up with these really, really dumb excuses. So Andrew, I commend you on your boldness of investing in yourself and moving to Colorado Springs. There's more to that story, and we're out of time on this episode already. But I would love to have you on, man, every few months, whatever, just an update on the different things you do. And I think that you're going to really be able to encourage the Unconditional listeners of your personal story on how, like, you didn't move out with family, from what I understand. Like, you didn't move out here with $500,000. I mean, you got it. It was like you said, spaghetti. There was a guitar and an Airbnb, and you did it, and you did it, and you're still
one
doing
way
it.
to really. I think there's also an important element before we close out. I know we got to close out here, but one I guess on a final note, I think it's separating, moving away from everything. Like, if you want change for yourself, I think moving away from all of those like past ties that you've had will allow you to grow into who you want to grow into, if you want that change. Because when you have all the people like all that baggage, like it just reminds yourself constantly of what you're trying to change. It's hard. So I think that actually on top helped too.
So use the haters to fuel your entrepreneurialism.
Yeah, not even necessarily haters, but like just the ties, the baggage.
Baggage. I love it. I love it, man. I mean, if you're starting a fire, you have to have something old to burn, right?
Mm-hmm.
Some kind of kindling. So we've got our, thank you, Andrew. We've got Unshakable by Peter Lynch, an Elite Mastermind program about to launch. You can see that at sleek, sleek.bio/unshakable. This is a mindset coaching program for men 35 and up. Absolutely awesome. Actually, no, there's no age limit on this one. 35 and up is for Garage Fitness. It's professional fitness coaching from anywhere with Gordon Brodecki. You can see his stuff at garagefitnessspa.com. I interviewed him. He's an awesome guy. Basically, a gym was closing and everything, and he just said, all right, let's just put equipment in my garage. And he started an entire garage fitness movement. It's absolutely awesome. He has a program for only $47 coming up, a 21-day challenge, $47. It will be up soon at garagefitnessspa.com. Check it out. He's an awesome guy. He's an entrepreneur, and he's really going to hit a lot of those emotions. And this is a program for men 35 and up. And of course, planetduct.com. Get your ducts clean. Stop breathing that nasty dust. Andrew, appreciate you, man. And I can't wait to see you next time on the Unconditional Podcast. We won't do what I try to do on your podcast and give away chickens. We won't.
Yeah, we could give away ducks.
We could give away. All right, man. Appreciate you. I'll see you next time. And everyone else, thank you for your likes, subscribes, follows, all the things, and promoting the Unconditional Podcast. I hope that today our podcast reached you in a depth and inspired you, encouraged you to be an unconditional entrepreneur. See you next time.